Do you like toying with death, or is it something where you're doing these extreme activities because it's making you feel more alive?
First, it's kind of like when you think of adrenaline and you get down, you're kind of pepped up and you're like, oh, this is living. That was exciting. And you're happy to be alive. But with time for me now, I don't get much fear and I'm not getting scared when I'm up there. So when I get the ground, I'm like, oh yeah, that was fun. But what I find when I'm doing it and what keeps me still doing it is I'm not thinking of anything. I'm very analytical. I'm always thinking about everything. I'm looking at exits. I'm looking at potential sets. But when I'm walking a high line, I'm not thinking about nothing.
So it's like a meditation for you now?
Kind of, yeah.
Interesting. So instead of like turning to alcohol to numb the thoughts, you just turn to being 200 meters in the air. And
yeah,
that makes total sense. Today's guest is a great friend of mine from back in Australia, James Kershaw. James has had me hanging 300 feet from deadly rocks. He's also taken me and my wife down canyoning. And he's always taking me to amazing adventures. And the reason I got him to do a podcast with me when I visited Australia was because he's recently become a certified stuntman. And the stories he was telling me were absolutely incredible. He later, after our podcast, went and lit himself on fire for the first time as part of his qualifications. So enjoy the episode. He is a fascinating creature, and I really enjoyed diving into the psychology of why he is such a daredevil and why he's decided to now light himself on fire and throw himself downstairs as a profession. Enjoy the show. Thanks for taking me yesterday to Catherine Hill Bay for the massive cave. That was it's always an experience when we go there. But so anyway, for anyone who's not familiar with my friend James, you've probably seen him in plenty of videos before. The reason I wanted to get you on the podcast is obviously with this, we're trying to figure out, what pushes people to improve their health, what pushes people to improve their relationships, their mental game. And you have a very interesting ability to push yourself mentally. You're about to become a stunt guy. Later on tonight, you're literally lighting yourself on fire in the next probably like 2 hours, 3 hours. So for backtracks for people who don't know who James is, we met you literally just popped out of a bush when we're in the middle of...
literally, damn cliffs.
Literally at the damn cliffs. DAM, no N. But Stacey and I were taking photographs, and then all of a sudden this guy who pops out of bushes going, do you guys make videos? And I'm like, who the is this guy? And then it was weird because normally if someone goes like, oh, we do adventures or whatever, like you should come along. I'm like, yeah, get your number, never call. I don't know why. I just shot you a message. And I remember the first time we were going to go and do canyoning of all things. And Stacey's like, are you sure we can trust this guy? I'm like, no. But either way, we're going to be dead or we're going to have a great memory.
We had a 30-second conversation about it.
Literally a 30-second. And then I just shoot you a message going, hey, let's do this. And you took us. Stacey wasn't too thrilled because of how cold it was. And then we got her to go down. Well, you got her to go down a 20 meter waterfall, abseiling.
30 meters on the dot.
30 meters.
30
okay,
meters.
So that's like just short of maybe 90 meters or 100 feet, 90 feet or 100 feet for people in the US. But it's funny how something like that ended up becoming like a 5-year friendship, where every time we visit Australia, we're like, hey, we've got to do something fun. But what fascinates me is what got you into doing that those daredevilish things where you're on top of like 300 feet high or 300 meter high drops on a tiny little rope, just walking across it. Why?
Not even a single emotion when I'm on it now. I started the same way you did. You were on the same path, skateboarding. That was it.
So skating is what started you with that adrenaline junkie situation.
hurting myself skateboarding. Because skateboarding at a high level, when you have an injury, which I did, I hurt my ankle. I missed out on certain sponsorship opportunities. I couldn't skate. When I could skate again, I wasn't at the ability, same level. It's a perishable skill when you're up at a high ability. So you're not going to be doing 540s one day and not touch it for 7 months and then go straight back and be doing them straight away. You have to work back up and be confident that you're not going to hurt yourself. And then you're starting to get to that age in life where it's like, oh, I need to work. I need to do all this. So the passion wasn't there. And then I got dragged. Indoor rock climbing, of all things. I was like, who does this? It's stupid.
So that was the first thing, was you went from daredevil mentality with skateboarding to then, okay, indoor rock climbing. I wouldn't say
daredevil.
I mean,
it took me a year to learn how to ollie.
This is coming though from this is also a fella skater. Like I went skateboarding last week, but people that look at skateboarders are just like, why would you take that risk? You know, like it's a very common thing.
You learned how to do an ollie pretty quick.
Honestly, it was so long ago, I don't even remember.
It took me a year, pretty much to the day, to learn how to ollie over a pencil. And then another year after that to learn how to do a rock the fakie on a half pipe. But the day I learned to rock the fakie, I was doing blunt the fakies. And a switch flicked and I had everything. But I had 2 years of experience to kind of like, oh, this is okay. I'm not going to hurt myself. Let's go.
Interesting.
And then it was hardcore after that.
So why not pursue skateboarding again after coming back from it?
No, once I started climbing, I was like, this is way more exciting.
Really?
Like, yeah.
How come? Because like for me, skateboarding, like, because I've obviously done both. I don't know, like there's something technical about it, and there's crazy technicalities about rock climbing. But what's the difference between the two in your mind? Because I find skateboarding way more fun.
Yeah, but I suppose you haven't been doing crazy trad lead climbing on 200-meter cliffs.
Yeah, it's true. Well, okay, that seems more like way more dangerous. I guess risk to reward for me doesn't make sense with rock climbing, stuff like that. I'm not skilled enough yet to do it. But at least with skateboarding, like worst case scenario, I'm going to break a bone or something. But that situation of rock climbing to that level, the worst case scenario is death.
Yeah.
Why? Why?
But to get to that point where there's a fatality is so unlikely with training and ability and skills. So you don't just go from, I'm going to learn this basic thing at a basic step and then jump right up and do what you're seeing on YouTube and TV and Netflix. You start really small, and by the time you get to that level, you've got all this arsenal. So you know that, I can hold on to that. I'm not going to fall. There's bolts in the wall. I'm safe. I know who glued the bolts. Or for me personally, I bolt climb. So I'm like, I know what's going into my climbs, and I know the people that I know have bolted certain climbs. So you can trust that. And you're like, well, that's going to protect me. And you're bolted at a safe point every couple meters, so before you're caught. So, and you only just do a little baby swing, that doesn't really hurt.
Yeah.
And as your skill level increases, your confidence increases, that gap gets a bit bigger, and then you start placing your own equipment.
Fair enough. Because I mean, I don't know enough of it, and I know when we went to the middle of nowhere in the Blue Mountains for me just to hang off the slack line, high line. I didn't know if it was going to be safe or not, but you're confident. You're like, this thing can hold a car and you're way lighter. So I was like, all right, I'll trust this dude. But
a really, really small car that's been gently placed on.
So you just bullshitted me, did you? You said that you could hold like 2 cars, I think, at one point. You're like, look, the backup rope is going to hold 2 cars.
The backup line's exactly the same as the main line. It's just doubled over.
So you lied to me.
No, well, you didn't ask what type of car. It could have been a Matchbox. It could have been anything.
Fuck, man. Let's quickly tell a story about how Susan reversed her type 2 diabetes in 12 to 16 weeks. Now, we all know that traditional medicine, they're not in it to make you healthy, because if they can keep you in poor health, they can keep themselves rich. Now, this has become extremely frustrating with all of us now that the veil has been lifted from our eyes. And a lot of us are turning to holistic medicine because its goal is to get to the root cause, undo the problem, and help us live a better life, which is what we want. We don't want to be addicted or subscribed to these pills or medications for the rest of our life. Also because it's just freaking expensive. What Susan ended up doing, she got tired of hearing all these things, these excuses from doctors that, hey, don't worry, insulin's your thing, insulin's your friend, you're gonna be on it for life and that'll keep you steady. Instead, she reached out to the team at Revital. They had a look at her blood work, and through holistic interpretation, they gave her a pathway of nutrition, other support, so that she can take actionable steps. And what happened is, in her individual case, now we can't claim and we're not saying that this will happen to everyone, but in Susan's individual case, Susan reversed her type 2 diabetes in 12 to 16 weeks. It is a game changer for someone's quality of life. Now, if you have a chronic issue that every time you go to a doctor, they say, I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do, give Revital a try. What you can do is just head to bit.ly/Revital Health. That link is in the description of wherever you're watching or hearing this. Have a consultation call with my friend, Dr. Jared. Dr. Jared's been on our podcast. You may have seen the face a couple of times. He will see first, before he even commits anything, whether or not he can help. Because this is, again, health is an ever evolving thing. It's nuanced, but he wants to make sure that you are the right fit for Revital and make sure that he can serve you the right way. So if you want to find out, just book a call, have a conversation, see if it's right for you by just going to bit.ly/Revital Health. That link is in the description. Make use of it and let's make your life feel better. I don't want to feel crap. I want to feel good. And so do you. Let's get back to the show. There's that thing, like I wasn't scared. That was the weird thing is the scariest part was doing that commitment, but then as in pushing out on the rope. The second I'd done that, I was like, there's no point freaking out because it'll either break and I die or it won't break and I won't die. So I have no control on each end of the ropes now.
Yep.
That's what made me calm. Obviously in the video, I acted it up a bit because me being like, oh, this is fun is a very boring video. It's a very boring video. So I had to like lean in and be like, here's how I feel a little bit. All right, jazz that up a bit. But do you find that there's like, I'm intrigued because do you find that you do that because like those daredevil things? So you've got rock climbing, you got slacklining or highlining, is it?
Highlining, yeah.
So you do highlining, canyoning, which we'll get into that because that terrifies the crap out of me. That's the only one out of all of them. I will not ever do that. Maybe it's a claustrophobia thing, but
you should come caving.
No. Oh no, caving is what I won't do. That whole, we won't. We'll get back to that. Is it something like do you like toying with death, or is it like something where it makes you feel like when I went hunting, for example, when I hunted a deer and I saw its life disappear, it made me appreciate my life more. Is it something where you're doing these extreme activities because it's making you feel more alive by toying with death?
So at first, it's kind of like when you think of adrenaline and you get down and you're kind of pepped up and you're like, oh, this is living. Like this, that was exciting. And you're happy to be alive. I survived. I've done something extraordinary. But with time, for me now, that's not the case at all. I don't get any... I don't get much fear, and I'm not getting scared when I'm up there. So when I get the ground, I'm like, oh yeah, that was fun. But what I find when I'm doing it, and what keeps me still doing it, is I'm not thinking of anything. So I'm very analytical. I'm always thinking about everything. As we were talking earlier, I walk into a room, I'm looking at exits, I'm looking at potential threats, I'm looking at everything. But when I'm walking a high line, I'm not thinking about nothing. I'm just chilled out in my own head, just walking.
So it's like a meditation for you now.
Kind of, yeah. Yeah,
Really?
Just thinking about my breathing, keeping my posture good, and taking each step as they come.
Interesting. So instead of like turning to alcohol to numb the thoughts, you just turn to being 200 meters in the air. And
yeah.
Okay, that makes total sense. Because definitely when you're up there, like you have, like it's that survival mechanism, I'm guessing, where you have to turn on. You have to focus, because if you don't focus and you're distracted or whatever, that's when things could go wrong.
Yeah, that's right.
Interesting.
Yeah, you want to be paying attention. And because I'm coming from a solo background where I've soloed these things, so without the safety measures, it's more so that. So every time I'm walking, I kind of treat it as if it's the same. I don't want to fall.
Yeah.
Because I'm picturing that I don't have a leash or a harness on.
Yeah.
Essentially.
That makes so much sense, because, yeah, I mean, we're all trying to find our own meditation things, but was there like a part of it at the beginning where you're like, all right, I want to keep pushing myself to, like, before you got to that meditation stuff, was it something like you were pushing that limit to see how far you, I think of it as well, like it's improving skills, but sometimes it's like someone like to toy with that fine line. Like skateboarding was, all right, how far can I toy it before I really hurt myself?
Yeah, so mine was more perfection in ability. So I'd learn something and it's more so mind over the physical ability. So sometimes you have to conquer things in your mind before you can physically do them. So like a task, say highlining, scary to learn. Once you learn it and you're walking, that's all good and you can walk a certain distance, but can you do that if your life absolutely depended on it and you had no safety or anything? And so you take that off, and I can guarantee you not many people are going to be able to hop up and walk across. So that mental switch, I guess, that you can flick and then you're up walking, that's what it's perfection. It's like the most pure, perfect way that you can do one of those skills.
So it really was about conquering the brain.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Completely. It's all mental.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there ever like a reason?
Because you can't do those physical activities unless you've conquered it in your mind first.
That is true.
Even with a rope and a harness, you sit on a high line. The first stage is getting onto the high line. The next hardest stage is standing up. You can walk 100 meters in a park. Doesn't mean you're going to stand on a 10-meter high line. Yeah. Because you've got that fear. Everything's like fight or flight, and your body just doesn't want to do it. Yeah, and you don't have the ground to fall onto, and well, you do, but you don't.
It's a little further.
Yeah. So that's the first mental barrier. So you jump up that, and then you move on.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like, so for you, was there? For me, I'm doing that now with ice baths. Like it was starting with 50 degrees Fahrenheit. This is 50 degrees, and then I got down to 34, and I was like, all right, I can do that. Now the next,
what's that in?
34 is like, I think I got down to 33 or 32 even, which is like 0.4 degrees Celsius.
Okay, cold.
Like I'm in like a layer of ice.
Yeah.
But if I'm still 3-4 minutes is fine. It's just overcoming that initial fear. That initial, like, and then you control your breathing. But what happens is the little thermal layer develops around your body, and it still sucks, but you can be fine with it. So the next step for me, similar to your thing, is now I'm buying a jet to push the water around. And then that basically then resets me back to 50 degrees, because 50 degrees with the water moving is worse than 32 degrees Fahrenheit with the water still.
Yeah.
And then it's like, all right, boom, that sucks. Get back down. Because everyone focuses on the health benefits. And I'm like, yes, but for me, it's like mentally screwing with myself in the morning so the rest of the day's easy.
Yeah.
For me, it was like, the reason I needed to start doing that was I realized that the more I did that, the stronger I became mentally and everything else. Was there ever a reason why for you're like, I need to control my brain?
When I was in high school at an early age, I wanted to join the infantry. More than that, I wanted to be special forces. So everything that I looked at, or SAS, Special Air Service Regiment, SASR, that's what I wanted to do. So I looked at everything that they do, and what makes them so special is they've conquered their brains. They've got so much physical body control that they can push through the most adverse, harsh environments and still operate to a T, perfection. And that's what I wanted. So I was training for that for many years. So I'd push myself into like an uncomfortable situation just to see how long I could handle it. And every time I'd think about quitting, I'd be like, well, these soldiers with boots on the ground, well, they don't quit. They keep going. So it's physically okay, and that's the same as when you get hurt or injured. Well, a lot of that time, for me, pain is in your head. So if you've got other things to think of, like you say adrenaline, if you went hunting and you shoot a deer and it keeps running, well, I'm sure it would be in pain if it stopped.
Yeah.
But you can keep going. It's thinking about other things.
Yeah.
But you can learn to shut that down. Slowly, I guess. Slowly. Exposure therapy.
Yeah.
At its finest.
And so how long was it till you went from indoor to outdoor climbing?
Oh, maybe 2 weeks.
That quick?
Yeah.
How come? Why so fast?
Everyone wanted me to get outdoors. That was it. Let's go.
Fair enough. And so, so the rock climbing part's part of your journey. The highlining's another part. The canyoning's another thing too.
It all stems after skateboarding. I started rock climbing. Rock climbing, I went on a rock climbing trip around Australia. I ended up in Tasmania and then back to Victoria to a place called Mount Arapiles. I'm actually going there next month for Annabelle's birthday.
Hey, happy birthday, Annabelle.
Copy. And then she is... Oh, what are we doing? Not her. I'm having a mental blank. Oh, so I was there, and generally this is a rock climbing location only. It's full trad climbing, unless you're climbing grade 32.
What's that for people who are not
Oh,
sure?
dear.
And by people not sure, I mean me.
It's hard. Yeah. The hardest climb in the world was back in the years was at Mount Arapiles, called Punks in the Gym.
Really?
Yeah, and I think Alex Honnold got it first try.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, he's a beast. Yeah. So like those kind of grades, if you're climbing at that level, there's climbs there that are bolted. Other than that, everything else is traditional climbing only. So you place your protection, and that's what it's like a jigsaw puzzle as you're climbing.
Yeah.
It takes a little bit more endurance. It's a hell of a lot more scary because if you don't do it right, you're not guaranteed that your gear is going to hold. Yeah. Even if you watch the professional climbers and they fall, very commonly one or two pieces of their safety will fall out.
Yeah.
So they'll have a bigger fall and it makes life a bit more exciting. But anyway, when
exciting's a wild choice of words.
Yeah. Well, you're not thinking about it. When you fall, you're not thinking about, oh, I'm dying. You're just thinking about falling, and then it catches you.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I didn't die, and then you're happy. So it's good. You keep going.
If you land like you've fallen that far, because you're in a harness, but that harness is around your hips. It's not like it's your full torso.
That's correct.
Is that like crazy whiplash when you fall that far?
No, because the rope's dynamic. So the rope has plenty of stretch. And then more on that, your belayer, who's holding the rope for you through generally a belay device, they're dynamic too. So when you're falling, you're pulling on the rope stretches, but that's also pulling them up. So they're going up, and that softens the fall too. Yeah. But you can use that in the opposite way too. So if someone was climbing and they were going to fall and potentially hit the ground or a ledge, and you're up there and you can jump off and fall as they're falling, you can make them fall a bit shorter, or it'll be a bit rougher, but a bit shorter. It's generally really gentle on the rope on you. The hardest impact is if you were swinging to a wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever had to do that? Like you see someone else falling and you've had to jump off so that they don't?
Yeah, plenty of times. Generally when you're starting.
That's so wild to someone who hasn't done it themselves, where you're like, obviously rock climbing, the one thing you want to avoid is falling.
Yeah.
But now you have to be like, well, this guy will be in trouble if I don't, so I'm just going to jump off this cliff face to save him and both of us.
Yeah. And I've also had times where people should have done that for me and haven't, and I've hit the ground.
Really?
Yeah.
What's the furthest you've fallen to the ground?
To the ground, probably 4 meters.
That's still...
It's
what would that be? That'd be... That's about, what, here? Roof?
Well, you'd be roughly 2 meters high, wouldn't you? Just under.
So, okay, so it's not that bad, but it's still... Did you fall flat on your back, or...?
It was kind of... It was in a big cave in Bullet Dealer, and the ground is slanted. So you fall down and you hit the ground, and then you just tumble down a little bit more.
Ugh.
But if you weren't on a rope, you'd keep tumbling, and there's a cliff edge beneath that, so then you would potentially be a fatal incident.
Potentially unalive.
Yeah.
Dude. And so, actually, one thing happened to you recently, which I wanted to touch on. You almost died since I last saw you, or the time before that.
Which one?
Which one?
There's been a few. Yeah.
I only know the one where you were deep. You
Scuba?
where we met. It was damn cliffs, and you almost died.
Yeah, that was not fun.
What happened?
So There's a rock jump there, 10 meters high above the water. I always wanted to know how deep the water was beneath it, because someone told me it is as deep as the rock face is beneath it. And
Which is like 12 meters high.
it's 10 meters high.
10 meters?
Yeah, and they said it was 10 meters deep. And I was like, okay, I'd like to check that. And I took my scuba diving gear, had my scuba diving watch, and that tells you the depth and the temperature and everything.
Such a James story.
I want to see how deep the water goes.
I had to fact checked it. But you know more than anyone, you've been there, that the water's real murky.
Yeah, very murky.
So it's zero visibility. At the top layer, you can see like a foot in front of you. So when I was going down, going out to the point at which I wanted to go down, and I was like, I'm just going down, I'm coming back up. I'm just checking the depth. Going down, the temperature was 21 degrees on surface. I'm not sure what that is in your world.
Fahrenheit. It ain't my world. I honestly, Fahrenheit, I only understand in ice bath terminology.
Oh, okay.
America's only converted me to that. Like, people will be like, oh, today is going to be 80 degrees. And I'm like, I know that's warm.
Yeah.
So anyway, 21 degrees.
On the surface.
Yep.
I've gone
Celsius.
Yep, 13.7 meters deep.
Okay.
It was 12 degrees on the bottom. So that was it's in the mountains.
Still
so
nice.
It was freezing, and I was
12
only in like a
degrees.
3 mil wetsuit, so I'm cold. I can't see shit, and when I hit the ground, all the sediment's going everywhere. So I've got a 1,000 lumen dive torch on my wrist. I've got my dive computer, and I can't see anything.
Really?
Yeah, and all I know at this point is I'm cold, I've hit the bottom, I'm going to have all the data I need, I'm going back up. And I started ascending, I get a BCD, so I can inflate that, puts air in like a backpack, and that brings you up. And I'm coming up quite quick because I was cold, and I was like, oh, the chances of something bad happening is minimal. And I smashed my head on a rock. Yeah, and
So
I've
you-
only gone straight down,
So you went straight down,
and I was going straight back up.
and somehow you've ended up underneath a rock.
Yeah. Yeah, so I smashed my head. I was like, oh, that hurt. And put my hands up, and it was just roof, just rock. And no visibility, just roof. Underwater, instant freak out.
Yeah.
I've never been so scared in my life. I've been in a lot of different scary environments, and that takes
And
the
you
cake.
you still had air in your scuba tank at this
I
point?
would have been freaking out for about 40 to 50 minutes before I ran out.
Okay.
Yeah. With
But
the
you weren't
amount of
down
air
there for
I
that
had.
long?
No, the whole dive took about 4 minutes.
So when you reached what happened when you reached that realization that you don't know, like, it's pitch black, you don't know where you are, you don't know where up is in
Yeah.
terms of a freeway up. What do you do then? All right, guys, let's quickly talk about testosterone levels in men. As we hear often that it's decreasing in a lot of people, but what we're not aware of is it's a natural phenomenon to happen as you age. Now, that can be as young as your early 20s or as late as, if you're lucky, your late 40s or 50s. Now, there are a couple of telltale signs, and you probably haven't even looked into it because either you're just not aware of it or you haven't really thought about it, or going and getting a blood test just seems like a massive headache because it's a half a day probably. You got to fast the night before, the morning of. You don't really want to do it. But there is a free online test that only takes about 60 seconds to fill out that can give you up to an 88% accuracy indicating whether or not you may or may not have low testosterone. Now, this test, the link will be in the description for this. It is called the ADAM test. So it stands for some fancy name that I haven't really been paying attention about, but this is done by T Clinics USA. So these guys, I pair up with them. I do another podcast with them called the Man Lab that's all about peptides, testosterone, all that sort of cool shit. Now, this is not saying you have to do that, but if you're interested in finding out whether or not you have low testosterone, or at least have an indication of it, head to bit.ly/the Adam test. That is TheAdamTest. That is bit.ly/the Adam test. That link is in the description of whatever channel you're watching this right now. So if you want to go check that out, it's 60 seconds. Click the link in the bio right here, and you can fill that out to find out. And if you find out you probably have low testosterone, the guys at T Clinics can reach out to you, or you can reach out to them to see what you can do to make yourself feel more energetic, maybe increase your sex drive, whatever it is you're after, because we all know that testosterone levels, it just, when they're up, you feel up, and when they're down, you feel down. So bit.ly/the Adam test, and let's get back to the show.
Well, when you're diving, you're neutrally buoyant anyway, so you don't really know which way. You could be upside down or doing whatever.
Really?
Yeah, so when your brain... Well, I flicked back into my memory cabinet, I pulled out a file, and before I learn a sport, I go to all the deaths that have happened. So you go to canyons, I know all the deaths from all the canyons that I've gone through in Australia before I do them. The
Deaths.
Yeah.
Like people dying.
So I can learn from their mistakes. Yeah. So you can read that and then you get better. Same as diving, and especially cave diving. And cave divers have a line that goes back home, and they follow that line. You never lose your line.
Yeah.
That's your way out. More on that is you've got visibility. You never lose your visibility. If you do, you follow your line, and your line takes you back home.
So you never lose your visibility, and you knowingly went into water that had zero visibility.
Yeah, well, I didn't think it was going to be caving systems under this water. I just thought I was going straight down, up. I had a metal detector. I was going to go play around and find people's lost GoPros.
So you just imagine it was like some canyon thing at the bottom.
Yeah, I just thought it would have been straight wall down.
Yeah.
And on both sides, and it would have been open space.
Okay.
I've done heaps of zero visibility dives before. So when I've hit my hands on the roof, I realised I don't have a line leading me back to safety. I'm disorientated, so I don't know which way I've come from. I've obviously been taken by an underwater current, and it is a dam, so it is flowing water. Moving. And I have no visibility. All the boxes are ticking to a fatal incident where I don't come out and they don't find my body. So with that in hand, scared as anything, I just freaked out and started clawing my way any which way I could along the roof. And I've gone roughly 10 meters. And I remember this one clear as day. I grabbed a lip at that 10 meters horizontal, and the dive computer shows you your depth and how you've been traveling through everything. And I've grabbed a lip, and I'm like, oh, this is perfect. I'm going to be safe. And then around the lip, about half a meter high, there was another roof. And then my heart sunk again, but I just kept going. And then eventually I got around another lip, and it was dead straight all the way to the surface.
Yeah. Were you conscious to make sure that you were slowing your breathing down so you had more time with oxygen?
Nah, I didn't have that control. Yeah.
Ugh, that'd be so... And this whole thing only took 4 minutes.
4 minutes.
How long did it feel like?
4 hours.
Oh.
Yeah. And as soon as I come up, I looked at Annabelle, and pale as a ghost, and I'm like, I almost died.
And she wouldn't
get this off me. I ripped everything off. I just left it floating, and my friend had to carry it all the way up to the car. And I was like, no, give it away. I don't want it. I don't ever want to touch it again. Yeah.
So how deep was the water?
13.7 meters.
Now you know.
Yeah. I'm not going back.
That is terrible. So if you were to do another like zero visibility, you would say that you're definitely...
I did one the next week.
Well, was there a reason behind that, or like the whole overcome?
Because I was scared. I didn't want to be scared.
Yeah,
anymore.
that's what I was thinking.
wanted to prove to myself that I could still do it.
Did you take a line this time?
No, I took a buddy.
Isn't that the first thing you should have done? Is just take that line, the retrieval lines?
Yeah, but I didn't know what I was in for. I just thought it was straight up and down. I didn't think there was going to be anything.
The second one, did you at least do that?
No, because I wasn't going through like any caves or anything like that.
Well, you didn't think you were last time.
Yeah, but the sediment, that's what really took away my vision when it come up and I couldn't see.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't touch the ground. We weren't trying to figure out how deep we were. We were just cruising around.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it was...
With zero visibility.
Zero visibility. Or maybe like 10 centimeters max.
And what was the point of that one other than mentally overcoming that fear to not let it ever control you?
That was the only reason.
That was the only reason.
Yeah, the only reason I went back diving was so I could be like, oh, I'm not getting conquered by something like this. Yeah. Yeah, because you got to overcome your fears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless,
what exoskeleton?
Yeah. What is with that? So we've just... You'll overcome the fear of almost dying the next week, but get you near a crab and you're just like, fuck no, I'm out of here.
I'm gone.
Why? Why won't you? What stops you from pushing that fear? Because you seem to push every other fear
I have nothing to gain from that fear. There's no scenario or sport that I want to do.
You run away
that
when there's like
involves
2
me grabbing
meters.
a crab.
You don't have to grab it, but like just like every time we meet, I forget that you got that fear. And then yesterday when we're going to the caves, there's a dead crab on the floor, and you ran the other way.
I could sense that you were going to try to throw it on me.
I did. I chased you down, and I literally was there filming for like what felt like 10 seconds. I turn around and you're literally up a cliff.
Gone.
Just gone.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck. Which is ironic.
I'm going to casually walk around this corner so he thinks I'm not paying attention. And then I sprinted.
which is ironic though, because to get up that cliff, you had to pass another 50 crabs.
That were alive.
They were all alive. And they were big too. Some of those were chompers.
But I knew I had to get up there anyway. Yeah.
That's true. But it was a dead crab. Like the thing it was cracked open in half.
Yeah.
And you're still afraid of it.
Well, you wouldn't want me to put a dead tarantula on you.
I wouldn't care as much though.
But they're the same thing.
Yeah, but
put the skeleton on the outside of the tarantula and you got yourself a crab.
What is it about a crab that scares you? Did you
have you zoomed in on their face?
Did you have crabs once and it was like never again?
No. No, zoom in on their faces. Even it
zoom
comes
in on
from,
their faces?
They're like aliens. No way. And they got pincers.
Oh, yeah, there's that.
They're tough. But zoom in, have a look at what they look like up close, and tell me if you want that touching you.
Yeah, but we just saw an ostrich an hour ago at the zoo, and
that's got a beak.
But that thing is weird.
And a neck that you can grab.
A crab, you just go like tap on it and it runs away.
Yeah.
Like an ostrich does this and then runs at you like that. You're in trouble. So you're really...
Ostriches are fine.
But what... It just fascinates me because you're my friend who doesn't have, is always pushing fear. You enjoy pushing other people through their fears, which I totally get. Like,
it's passion.
Yeah. Like, I'm the same, like, when I used to do personal training, when I'm teaching people, whatever it is, it's like there's an enjoyment seeing someone take themselves to the next level. And I 100%, like, I'm the same with even my daughter, but I've been like that with friends before. So I 100% understand that mentality. But I don't understand an irrational fear like that.
It comes from when I was a baby. I've had it my whole life. Mum tried to give me exposure therapy, bought me a hermit crab. She puts it on my hand.
They're a crab with a house. Like, they're the most domesticated crabs you can get.
Yeah, mobile crab house. So I've got it in my hand. She puts this shell on my hand, and I'm like, oh, this is great. Like, I'm doing good. And then this crab leg comes out of the shell, and I threw it at a brick wall, and it just exploded.
Oh, well, that's where she messed up. You can't do shock therapy with a surprise attack. It has to be like it's coming at you, and you have to stare it in in the face.
Yeah. But if I ever see purpose in overcoming that fear, I'll do it. But it's good to have something.
Okay, so what happens in there's got to be...
I'm going to turn this off. It's being...
Yeah, you're a popular man. It's fine. I put mine on silent, guys.
It's the stunt gang.
But I still don't have any notifications, even though it's on silent. Yeah, because for people, for background for people with this is how funny it is. Yesterday when we're going in through the caves and we're trying to come back out, you're going into there are 3 different ways that we know of that we can go that are all well lit. You choose to go the pitch black way. You're smacking on the rocks so that if there's crabs, they'll leave. And then you go and you try and dig through sand in a, again, pitch black area, and you think this is the way we got to go. Meanwhile, I'm like, dude, I'm just going to go the bright way that I know is possible, which we didn't do anyway. We did, again, the hardest way that was possible anyway, going through another dark way. But it was funny because you're going directly into the darkness where my theory is if you did go through that dark way and you kept being persistent, I was worried now with what I know, because I went, fuck this, I'm going back the way I know. We went back and then we went through a dark way anyway that wasn't the right way, but it ended up at the right place. I clocked when we walked around. There was no exit.
No.
Like you were
And I still had more room to go.
You were going feet first into a darker cavern where if we were there for another hour, the water probably would have filled up and we would have drowned.
Half an hour, that would have been full.
Yeah. So
So that little way that we went and we climbed over a rock to get into that little slot.
Yeah.
There's normally water just at that level.
Yeah.
So that was way higher than the level I was
So we're
at.
30 minutes away from dying. And you're more worried about the crabs than the thing that actually will kill us.
Yeah.
What goes through your brain in
I was
moments
just
like that?
exploring. I just wanted to know. I didn't know. I still want to know what's there.
We'll take a light next time.
I will.
I think that area is, honestly, it's just it's a little pocket of a cavern where there's no exit.
And we're going to find out.
Well, you can find out and shoot me a text.
I'll do it. I'll take a
Well,
photo.
Instagram, because I won't get it in the US. But, okay.
Do you keep the same number when you come over each time? No.
No, every time I fly here, I just get a whole new SIM card. It's like 35 Australian, which is like $20 US.
So you'd probably lose it if you took it home and tried to keep it.
Lose what? My number?
Your SIM card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why Instagram me. It's the only way, or text me on my US number, which, you don't have an iPhone, so you can't iMessage me. But, yeah, okay. So, are there any other fears you have?
I guess I don't like the idea of cave diving.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So if you're... But you
I'm shit scared of avalanches. Petrified of them.
But do you still go mountainous areas where they're possible?
I'm climbing a mountain in November. Yeah. Doesn't mean I'm not going to do it. I'm just scared of that happening.
Well, that's normal though. I don't think that's a phobia. Oh, hey, what happens if this giant thing that comes down the mountain potentially kills me? Or kills everyone in its path? That's not an irrational fear.
Well, most of the time it does kill you.
Yeah, so it's a rational fear.
Implements in place that you can, you got transceivers. So everyone's wearing an avalanche transceiver. It's it goes under your clothing. You sit it on the side so it's not getting damaged. And essentially it's a little locator beacon and we've all connected to the same, frequency. And what happens is if there's an avalanche and you get buried, well, I pull my pin on my transceiver and I follow it until the signal gets stronger and stronger and it leads me to you.
Yep.
So you've got a certain amount of time to save someone. So most people that survive an avalanche have either been lucky enough that they pop out on top or their friends find them. In the safety time, I can't tell you the exact time, so I'm not even going to attempt it. It's not that long. Yeah, because you can breathe under, there's heaps of oxygen under the snow. But what happens is when you breathe out, your hot air melts the snow and then it's ice and then it hardens and then you can't breathe through that and then you suffocate.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because I heard about a guy that he got hit by an avalanche, landed like this with his hands over his mouth, and then he was able to claw the snow and eventually he spat on his face and that told him where the direction of down was because obviously gravity. And then he dug his way up to the top.
So it mustn't have been very deep then. Because the weight, if I was to bury you in sand at waist height, you're not going to be able to get your legs out. And the snow's very much the same.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then, so when I was doing my mountaineering course, the guy that was training me, he has the avalanche rescue dog and he does all the avalanche rescues in New Zealand. So if something happens, a helicopter goes to his house, picks him and his dog up, and they're always finding bodies. They've never found a live person in all the time. The ones that survived are from friends that find them. Because by the time they get there, the helicopter takes them up there. The dog finds them record time.
Yeah, but never fast enough.
It's not fast enough.
Is it suffocation, hypothermia? What are the things that
you
typically...
suffocate, yeah.
Because of the ice freezing around your face?
Yeah, and you can't breathe. You can't breathe anymore, yeah.
Oh. How deep...
It would be more like carbon dioxide, I'd say. Because you breathe out and you're breathing back in what you're breathing out.
Yeah.
So that's going to probably put you to sleep before, not
so
like
it's a
drowning
peaceful
where
death.
you're yeah.
It's peaceful.
Well, you could imagine, but I still don't want it to happen.
No.
Yeah.
But see, that again, back to the original thing, that's not an irrational fear. That's totally rational.
I
Whereas
suppose so.
Crab is a weird
I can think of a lot
thing.
of people that are scared of spiders, and it's a spider of the ocean.
But a crab doesn't bite you with potential venomous with a potential venom. It'll bite and hurt you.
Neither does a huntsman.
Yeah. I get that. But we think it does.
A crab will hurt you more than a huntsman.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying
pincers.
that we think of spiders, we think of venom. Even though, like, even Danny Longlegs, even though, like, I mean, being back in Australia, I forget where they are everywhere here.
Oh, everywhere.
I went to the shitter when we were over the cafe, and there's 3 in there just casually looking at me while I'm taking a dump, and I'm like, yeah, no one really cares about Danny Longlegs here.
Because they're not big and furry. That's a scary part. It's the fur.
If you can pet it, it's an issue.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
and you can thank Harry Potter for that. Number
Harry
2,
Potter?
when all the spiders are chasing them.
As before that.
You watch that when you're a kid. That's what scares you.
There is that. But remember that scene from Indiana Jones?
No,
where,
I
like,
don't.
he's walking through and he goes, hold on. Like, because he has one on his shirt and the guy turns around, his whole back's covered in tarantulas.
I don't remember that scene.
Good scene. But, so, before, because we're running short on time, so you got to go light yourself on fire. Tell people, so I'm excited. I want you to become a stuntman so you can come visit me in the US. What led you to a stuntman or wanting to do that? Is that like the next thing for you for like pushing your limits? And yeah, what was the transition from being an adrenaline junkie to now it's a meditation thing to, you know what, I'm going to go do action films and become a stuntman in Australia, if not America?
So the purpose about that is I do so many sports. I love learning new skills. I love mastering them, and I like being able to perform them under pressure. I love being under pressure. It's my bread and butter. That's where I belong, being under pressure.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't I want a job where I have to perform a certain skill set and I have to get it right the first time, if not every time, and for a production and it's movie magic. Have you never watched a movie and been like, oh, I wish I was in that sword fight scene? Or you watch Lord of the Rings and you go out with sticks and
yeah, that's
when
true.
You're a kid. It's the same thing.
Yeah, John Wick.
Yeah, John Wick. Yeah, that's right. Everyone wants to be the action hero. Why not? Yeah. So I get to perform skills and learn more skills, and everything's different. It's not the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I go rock climbing. It's the same thing. Doesn't matter if I've got sport climbing with quick draws, trad climbing with nuts and cams. The thing that changes is the difficulty.
Yeah. But
you will go on set and you'll be like, oh, you've got to punch this person and then fall down that staircase.
So you can do the falling down the staircase thing?
Yeah, I've fallen down heaps of stairs.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you worried about the physical ramifications being a stuntman has?
Nah, I do it while I'm young. Yeah, the idea is the illusion of danger and risk. Mm-hmm. So you do everything safe. When you fall downstairs, you're not just... I guess the girl stunt performers, they're hardcore. Because everyone that they're doubling is normally wearing like their skimpy clothes or a skirt, so they can't hide pads. But guys, they're in full SWAT uniforms. They've got elbow pads, knee pads, back pads. You've got everything. You're protected to the 9. So you fall down a stair set, that's great. But the poor girls, they're feeling it. They're actually falling down.
So it's harder to be... You think it's harder to be a female stunt woman?
Every stunt performer would agree with that.
Really?
Yeah.
Are they paid equally or better?
No, I'd say equally.
Okay. So equal pay exists in the stunt.
Yeah. Well, you get paid from... So you get like your loading, I guess, but then you get paid... So if you're doing a high-risk, big stunt... Well, you get loadings for those type of stunts. So if you're rolling cars or lighting yourself on fire, jumping out of an airplane, all those kind of things.
Really?
Yeah.
What's the most loaded thing, like the best pay stunt you can do?
Oh, the price would be limitless. It depends what people want you to do. The highest paying stunt I can think of that I know of was there was a gentleman and he went from an airplane down a zip line into another airplane. Flying.
What?
I think he got paid somewhere in the realm of $1 million to perform that stunt.
Did he have a parachute?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And
just
you can
check
see it. You can see it. Yeah.
$1 million. So, what's his name? Do you remember his name?
No, I don't know.
That's
I could find
badass.
out pretty quick, but yeah, I don't know.
So really, by Tom Cruise doing his own stunts, he's just saving money.
That's controversial.
He's just a penny pincher, is he?
Yeah, well, that's exciting. He produces his own movies, so he can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what do you mean by it's controversial?
Everyone has a stuntman, but you can find a grey area and say, I do my own stunts. If, that's true, you do all the stunts that you do. But you can't say that your whole movie career, there's never been a sequence that someone else has done in place of you, and you haven't done that.
I don't think he's saying that, though. But they have shown me, like, the recent Mission Impossible where he went off the side of the cliff with the motorbike.
Yeah.
That's pretty ballsy, especially at 60.
And the training for that,
Oh, man. Tom Cruise is just the best.
Oh, he'd be a great stunt performer if that was the path he chose. He chose a better path, I'm sure.
He chose the path that pays way better.
And you can still do all that exciting stuff and pay for it.
Yeah, everyone judges him and says, like, oh, he's going through a midlife crisis, he's this, he's that. I'm just like, if that's a midlife crisis,
he's living the dream.
I want it. Like, if I'm 20 years old and doing that, that's freaking cool. But if you're 60 doing that, that's even cooler.
Yeah. And you think about the other Mission Impossible where he's hanging on the side of a plane as it takes off. That's hella fun. That's something I'd love to do.
That's what you do. I wonder what the loading is for that.
I don't know. Well, he's paying himself. So
it's pretty good.
Yeah.
And so why are you setting yourself on fire? Making sure time. All right, well, 10. Why are you setting yourself on fire in the next 3 hours? I know right now I'm dressed like I'm about to either go to Hawaii or I'm about to be some sleazebag on a yacht in Miami, but I'm deliberately doing something right now, and that is trying to get your attention. This is what we all need to be doing for our business. It doesn't have to be as ridiculous as this, but short form content is where it is at. Yes, it is so saturated right now, but that actually makes it very easy because there's a lot of people who have no idea what they're doing, which makes it easier for you to increase your sales for your business. Now, my business outside of this is actually a short form production company called Sky Media House, and our clients typically see a 2 to 10x ROI on their investment with short form content with us. Just this month alone, we've had 6 videos hit over 1 million views for a total of 10 million views between just those 6. Now, put that into perspective. 10 million pairs of eyes have seen 6 videos of our clients just alone. That's not including all the other videos that we have produced for them. Now, what we've noticed outside of that virality is that 85% of consumers will first Google about you. So if they're trying to say find a landscaper, they're going to search landscaper in my area. Hopefully your SEO is doing a good job. And if it's not, YouTube short form actually helps build your SEO. But 2, once they find whether or not you are an option, and if you're in the top 5, they will research if they like you. And they do that by Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, or YouTube Shorts. And this is a popular one popping up. The reason that's powerful is because what happens is you start developing a relationship with your potential clients before they've even called you, and that speeds up the sales process and gives you an unfair advantage against your competitors when they call your competitors. They're going to be comparing you to them, and you're going to be winning. This is why short form is such a vital component, but it has to be engaging. If it doesn't connect with your audience, you're not going to make sales. So if you wanted to find out how we help clients make 2 to 10 times the money they invest in us month after month, go to skymediahouse.com, book a call with me, and we'll have a quick conversation to see if we align. And if we do, we can talk where we go from there. skymediahouse.com, let's get back to the show.
So to become a stunt performer in Australia, there's a certain amount of core skills that you have to achieve to be able to join. We're unionised, so to join the union to do that, to be a graded stunt performer, to, I guess, legally work on set in Australia. Mm-hmm. So once you do that, you're SAP qualified stunt actor provisional, and then you want to move on to become a stunt actor. So you have to have all those skills, you have to upskill them. There's quite a few, and lighting yourself on fire is one of them. Yeah, so I'm getting that over and done with, and I plan on doing it a whole bunch. Yeah.
So what exactly do you? Is it just you're standing there lighting yourself on fire, or is it part of a sequence? What are you doing tonight?
I guess I'll figure it out. I've got my fire sword in the car.
Wait, you got a fire sword?
Yeah.
What?
It's in the car. Yeah. And the fire juggling clubs. So maybe I can come up with something with that. I've got another fire sequence I'm working on, and that's going to be real cinematic and.
Yeah,
like a production, but this one's just for fun, for funsies, to get comfortable with being on fire.
Got you. So what are the safety requirements? Because we were chatting yesterday and you mentioned that, to be a stuntman in Australia, there's heaps of qualifications required, just like almost anything that is dangerous. Whereas in America, if it's dangerous, no qualifications needed. If it's safe, you need to do some training.
Yeah.
They're kind of backwards over there. But how many hours would you say you would have to go under until you're qualified enough in Australia to be a stuntman versus America?
To be qualified in Australia, you need 1 year of a basic body control. So that whether that be martial arts, trampolining, gymnastics, or any of that, and you should have performed or competed doing that.
And that's 1 year. Is there like a minimum amount of hours required?
No, just 1 year, and you need references from your instructors and all that. You do need 6 months of general stunt training from an accredited stunt coordinator or stunt actor that's accredited in the field.
Is that pricey?
Yeah. It's a couple $1,000s a year membership to be able to train. But you learn a whole lot about the film, TV industry and how to perform stunts safely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like so much I didn't know that from that, I'm way better well off.
So that's just the start of becoming a stuntman, like the first year.
Yeah, so you need to do martial arts. But for me, I was fortunate I had done all my jiu-jitsu and MMA before that. So that already counted. You need to have qualifications with water. So that could be bronze medallion. That's just like a swimming and rescue kind of, it's the tested. I don't really know much more about it. I haven't done it. Or you can be a qualified scuba diver.
Okay.
So I'm qualified with all that. So I've ticked that box. Or I ticked most boxes almost instantly.
Because of the crazy shit you used to do earlier.
That I've been doing, yeah. So then the other one is heights. So you need to be qualified in abseiling or climbing. I'm a qualified guide. So I covered all of that pretty easy.
So you were able to fast track a lot of your stuff because of, in a way, previous lives that you had.
Yeah, exactly. And you have to have a specialist driving qualification as well, and operating in the mines. I got videos of me drifting haul trucks and doing all that. I did the stuff that I had to do to get the certificates, but so I've ticked that box as well. Yeah, I'm not sure what else. Just trying to think. Well, you need to be advanced first aid. I've got, from being in mines rescue, I've got all of my advanced first aids, resuscitations, firefighting, road crash rescue, and all that. So I'm well above par on those boxes as well.
And so, compared to America, what do you have to do in America? Just turn up?
You're a stuntman.
So you can just identify... I identify as a stuntman and that's enough in America?
So for Australia, you get graded. We don't really have like a register. We've got a thing called Stunt Book, where you can look that up and find all the Australian stunt people that are part of that. There's like 300 or something members, and you can find any stunt person, what they look like, their names, their sizes, and all that. And their reels to show you their skill level. I know Britain's got the British Stunt Register. And what they have to do is hardcore.
Really?
Like,
so British is higher than Australia?
Way harder. You got to be like, I think if it's jiu-jitsu, you got to be minimum purple belt. Yeah. Some other disciplines are like black belt, but you got to be like competition gymnast and horse riding and motorbike riding. It's crazy.
Does that deter? Because I imagine if you're that qualified, there's also a much more like a pay requirement probably.
No, the pay's not going to change.
It doesn't change.
No.
So is there more of a
you're going to be able to
attraction
perform
movies?
Those skills better. So if you were to say you're filming and you wanted someone that can get exactly what you want to get in a short period of time, they're not going to be, you have to teach them how to punch, teach them how to do everything. That's the person that you'll want. For them being so hard, it deterred a lot of people from doing it. So you know that everyone that's put themselves through those years, it's years and years worth of training. They're dedicated. They want it. They've made sacrifices. They're hungry. Like they're the people you want. Here you have to have commitment as well. So we deter people that don't have the heart truly set on it. So you know you're getting good performers.
Is there more of a demand for Australian and British stuntmen from the American studios because of that?
I wouldn't say so. I think they get specialist So anyone can be a stunt performer, but if they need like a SWAT team, well, they might just go get an ex-SWAT team, you know, like, or ex-special forces and get people that have all that really good weapons handling, and they'll just employ them to do those sequences. If they need a horse riding sequence, they'll go get a competition horse rider or motorbike rider, and so they get specialists. So they won't just get one person that can do everything. They'll just get the best person for each skill. I guess if you look exactly like your actor, you're going to do as much as you can do.
So you're like a Chris Hemsworth. You're the same sort of build.
I'll take it.
Take it. Tall and blonde. You just got to have a little bit more. You got to grow your hair out.
Grow some muscles.
If you're wearing a long sleeve shirt, it won't matter.
No, it wouldn't matter. Yeah. I'd be the same height.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah, how tall's he?
I don't know.
About your height.
Yeah, I'm pretty tall.
Yeah, you are. But so that's interesting. How long do you reckon so what's the process of trying to get into a movie if you're a stunt guy?
If you're a stunt guy, so the director, they've got the scripts and all that. So they'll send their script to whoever they decide to be their stunt coordinator. And then the stunt coordinator will go over the script. They'll break it down. They'll find the action. So anything that requires a stunt. It could be this person's in a stairwell, they have an argument. And they have to extract, this is what I think the director's thinking. And they'll make action from that. So like you've got great action sequences in movies that have come from just 3 words on paper. There's a small gunfight in an alley, or the James Bond one. I think there was a foot chase, and that foot chase that they'd made up. They're running across cranes and jumping across buildings and all that. If you remember that that scene. So they break that down. They pick who they want to be the stunt performers or who they think is going to be right, and then they reach out to a stunt performer and they do the onboarding from there.
Interesting. Well, I mean, John Wick was like 35 words or something, and I think that's all he said. That makes sense. So, all right, cool. Well, you've got to go light yourself on fire. So, is your Instagram not on private anymore?
No, it's not. It's not been on private.
It's not? Okay. No. I was just thought it was for some reason, but I was accepted into the club. So how do people, if they want to follow your journey, where can they find you?
James Kingsley K.
James Kingsley K on IG.
Yeah.
That's the best way to do it.
That's all I got.
Yeah. That's all I got.
Yeah, not much stunt stuff posted yet, but it'll be coming.
Yeah, see him get lit on fire on his Instagram.
Yeah, and shooting guns and doing all that.
Yeah, you just got to come to America. You get to shoot more guns.
Yeah, I can't wait. And flamethrowers. Yes,
they did have a flamethrower for sale for $800 at my local gun shop the other day, like last month. And that thing went far. Like it wasn't like Elon Musk's flamethrower. Like this is a legit, you're fighting zombies from a distance. Like a good 10 yards.
If I want a flamethrower here in Australia, I need to get an aerosol can and a lighter, and I'm probably still going to go to jail for that.
You definitely will. Yeah, the legalities here are kind of wild. And the training makes no sense, but that's for a conversation for another day. When you come visit in America, we'll do another one.
Weapons training. Yeah. We can compare.
Dude, they're a little bit different over there.
Oh, Americans would be sick.
Yeah. You just got to come over. Yeah. But anyway, thanks, guys. Make sure to subscribe. We'll see you guys soon. Peace.